Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about government, we're going to talk about illegal immigrants, migrants, we're going to talk about violence, we're going to talk about philosophy, and hopefully make some sense to some of you out there. But before we do that, I'd like to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, which is our website, our homepage, our base. We're getting more and more traffic, and I appreciate that. Come here, you can find out where I'll be speaking the rest of this year, if anywhere. You can check out our videos, our articles. You can find out conscious music. You can download or purchase my books, and you can support us by buying our shirts. Follow us on social media everywhere. Subscribe to our email newsletter, and check out My Brave Botanicals for kratom and CBD. All right. So my main premise, the main goal of this video is, as the title indicates, to give a sort of lesson to those of you out there who are just uber concerned about immigrants and illegal aliens, and there's a lot of language used around that: migrants, illegal aliens, invaders by some of you. All kinds of weird things are said about people who are coming from other places, whether to escape violence, to escape criminal activity, or just to find a better way of life into the city, into the cities of the United States and into the United States in general. So I wanted to just take a moment to look at that, because I realized when I posted my video the other day, which was really not me taking a stance one way on immigration, it was just me documenting an immigration, an anti-detention center kind of protest rally. Some of the people, as I said, are more far left, definitely far left compared to me and some of you out there, and I don't embrace their ideas or support every chant I heard there, but as a journalist, I'm there to document it. And as an anarchist and as a free-thinking human being, I never want to empower the state and give the United States government, or any government for that matter, the quote-unquote right or the ability to lock people up in cages. And, it's not just that. You can sit here and say, yeah, Derrick, but what about all the rapists? What about all the criminals and this, that? You can have a sort of anti-illegal immigrant, a pro-strong immigration state stance. And get this, guys, still be able to look at the conditions of the current detention centers and say, wow, that's pretty fucked up. We probably shouldn't be supporting that, even though I don't want illegal immigrants here. And for those of you who say, all those pictures were taken during the Obama administration, that's not true. We have pictures that are more current from trips that have been made to the detention centers in the present day under the Trump administration. I know some of y'all are still stuck in the left-right paradigm, and so you want to blame everything on the other team. If it's something negative about your team, you just blame it on the other team, and that makes you feel better. But that's not always how reality works. Unfortunately, it's a little more complex than that. So even if you're against immigrants in general, or let's say I'm fine with immigrants, I just don't, I want them to come here legally. So that's fine too. But again, the reality is that they are being put into horrible, deplorable, disgusting conditions that even if you say, yeah, man, I don't want them coming here, or there needs to be a better system, you should be able to, on a basic human level, say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be putting kids and parents into these, detention centers where they have inadequate food, inadequate health, care, and inadequate everything. And some of you are saying, well, they shouldn't have come here, right? Because now I have to pay for my tax dollars to fend for them and to keep them alive. We should just let them die in the streets. Yeah, that's very Christian of you. That's very compassionate of you, for those of you who try to pretend like you're compassionate. So we have to get past that. Now, I'm about to show you some stats, because as I said in the title of this video, the government is your enemy, not illegal immigrants. Now, what I mean by that is not to say that every immigrant that comes here, quote-unquote, illegally and doesn't follow the rules, because I'm sure all you guys always follow the rules, especially whenever your life's on the line or your family's lives on the line. Not every person who crosses over here without playing the state's game and getting the special pieces of paper is a criminal, obviously. And many of them are working in your communities, whether legally or illegally, doing hard work, and you might never even realize it or know it. And you want to stop those people from coming in here to try to better their lives. Now, I'm not saying the answer is complete and total open borders. For those of you who are familiar with my work, you might have heard me talk about a concept called decentralized borders. It's from my third book, Manifesto of the Free Humans, where John Vibes and I talk about what does it mean to have borders. And I've talked about this before. You can read this article here, The Revolutionary Potential of Illegal Immigrants, that I put out. You can also read my article on removing the alt-right infection from the American libertarian movement if you want a little more background about why I don't stand with some of those people who identify as quote-unquote alt-right and have these strong stances against immigrants. You can find out more about that. Basically, what it comes down to is the answer is not to empower the state. Not to empower the state to be in control of borders. We go towards, this close to private and public and local decentralized borders as possible, and we let people decide who they invite into their communities, into their neighborhoods, into their homes, and not have this giant state apparatus. Because the state apparatus, for those of you who don't understand problem, reaction, solution, they're telling you that the immigrants are coming, they're all rapists, they're all murderers, they're all criminals, which we're going to show you in just a second is not true. And then everybody reacts and they say, oh my God, stop us, stop them from coming in here, fix this situation. And if people clamor enough, well then what happens is the state says, all right, we'll take care of that problem. And in this case, they're taking care of that problem by heavily militarizing the border. They're putting more biometrics, facial recognition scanning, license plate scanners. They're talking about bringing the TSA to the parts of the borders. And I live in Texas. If you go anywhere near the border, it is a police state. They can pull you over. They can harass you. They can do whatever the hell they want. You don't have to be brown. You don't have to be illegal. Okay, you don't have to. You could just be a good old American citizen and still get harassed because it's a police state down by the border, and people who live on the border towns, they know that. So the answer is not just open arms, welcome everybody, but the answer is also not close up shop, militarize the border, and become xenophobic. So let's look at the stats here, because I don't want just my philosophy to be, the basis for this article. Although I think that you guys are missing the philosophical aspect of this. That if you empower the state in this way, it's going to end up biting you in the butt later. Especially those of you who are like, yeah, we're anti-government or we're pro-freedom or pro-constitution. Well, you're setting up a fight for yourself later where you're going to end up having to deal with these people. You're going to end up having to face the state that you helped contribute to and create. So let's look at the stats. This is from U.S. Customs Border Protection Criminal Alien Stats for fiscal year 2019, which is from October 1st. To 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Record checks of available law enforcement databases following the apprehension of an alien may reveal a history of criminal conviction. The conviction information is received and recorded in U.S. Border Patrol. So the numbers actually seem to be going down since fiscal year 2012, the number of convictions, criminal convictions. Some could say, well, the reason they're going down is because Trump is militarizing the border, so less people are coming across, and that's why there are less convictions. We don't know for sure. But let's look at the types of convictions from fiscal year 2016 to 2019. And again, 2019 is not complete, so these numbers are going to be lower, obviously. But when you do look at the crimes for fiscal year 16, 17, 18, 19, let's see, assault, battery, domestic violence, burglary, robbery, driving under the influence, homicide, illegal drug possession, illegal weapons. If you look at these numbers, and especially if you compare it to, say, just the stats in general, illegal aliens are not committing, this is the whole country, right? So homicides in 2016, 8. 2017, 3. 2018, 3. 2019 so far, the fiscal year, 2. There's much more people driving under the influence. And again, you say, well, they're putting people at risk. Those illegal aliens are coming over here and they're driving under the influence. There was 1,000 assault, battery, domestic violence cases in 2016. That's been down to 524, down to 250 so far. So I'm saying if you look at these stats, and I'll put all these links below, it doesn't really pan out this idea that they're much worse. They're bringing in more crime, et cetera, et cetera. And then I have this report here from Cato Institute, Cato at Liberty, just from a couple months ago, Illegal Immigrants and Crime, Assessing the Evidence. And again, I'll put these links below. But they go into the fact that there's been a ramping up because of Trump saying that Mexicans are rapists, they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crimes. And some, I assume, are good people, he says. Well, thank you for that. What we're finding, though, is that all immigrants have a lower criminal incarceration rate, and there are lower crime rates in the neighborhoods where they live, according to the near unanimous findings of the peer-reviewed evidence. And you can check those links there. The research combines legal and illegal immigrants to calculate a crime rate for all immigrants, but the modern debate is over the crime rates of illegal immigrants. So this is from the American Community Survey. It does not ask which inmates in adult correctional facilities are illegal immigrants. Second, federal data on the number of illegal immigrants incarcerated on the state and local level is recorded through another program. Third, 49 states do not record the immigration statuses of those in prison or convicted. So there are some limitations to the data. But Cato also looked at criminal conviction rates by the immigration status in the state of Texas. Unlike every other state, Texas keeps track of the immigration statuses of convicted criminals and the crimes they commit. And obviously, Texas is a border state. So it says even here, illegal immigration conviction rates are about half of those of native-born Americans. Get that again, those of you who are xenophobic and think the immigrants are all, the cause of all your problems. Half of those of native-born Americans, that means you, if you were born here. The illegal immigrant conviction rates for homicide, larceny, and sex crimes are also below those of native-born Americans. So that's, and I'll throw another link in here. This is, I think this is the Border Patrol as well. Arrest and conviction data. Oh, actually, this is Texas DPS for select offenses associated with illegal criminal aliens. And again, the numbers aren't extremely high. There's 16,000 arrests for theft. That's the high. What the highest thing we're seeing is obstructing police. There's a high case of assault in Texas, but convictions are much lower. So Texas does keep some of the stats. And yeah, these are considerable. You're seeing homicides, there's 260 according to the Texas DPS in Texas. That's convictions. 14,000 assault cases, 18,000 drug cases, 11,000 obstructing police. Now, I'm not saying these 2,000 sexual offenses, all of these are crimes. I'm not saying these are insignificant or don't matter. But when you put them in comparison, as we just heard from Cato, to the greater, the stats compared to all Americans and all people here, this is not, a crisis that's taking place, that the immigrants are just assaulting and murdering everybody everywhere they go. And the video is titled, "The Government is Your Enemy, Not the Immigrants." So now I bring you to this Hawaiian University study on the 20th century democide. And for those who aren't aware, democide is basically death by government. And we can look at 20th century democide levels from various governments around the world: China, USSR, colonialism itself, Germany, China, Japan, China under Mao, Cambodia, Turkey, Vietnam, Poland, Pakistan, Yugoslavia, North Korea, Mexico, Russia. And interestingly enough, the United States is not listed on here, but we can say that the United States has contributed to all kinds of wars and other things that are destroying the environment and killing people. Now, you have to look further into this. I would recommend, and I will put the links to check out how they do their numbers, but there are plenty of books and studies that look into the topic of democide, and it's becoming more and more accepted that government is the biggest killer in the world. Government is the biggest threat throughout history, and this is just the 20th century. We can go further back if we wanted to. This is coming from R.J. Rummel of Center for National Security Law, School of Law, University of Virginia. Genocide and mass murder since 1900, the stats of democide. And he goes pretty deep into all this, so you can check out this yourself. And then his study, Death by Government, goes even further. But some of the numbers estimate around 262 million people have been killed by governments in the last 100 years or so. And obviously there's going to be a pretty wide range in the stats depending on which numbers for each country that you accept. But my point, I think, is made, is that when you look at the stats for immigrants, which is where all of your energy and your attention is being focused at the moment, there really isn't a logical explanation or a logical reason to be constantly fearing immigrants or thinking that they're just these horrible criminals and rapists. How about judging people as individuals and going from there? Now, again, this is not to say that the answer is like, let's just open the borders and let everybody in. I'm not really pushing that as well. And the answer is not to militarize the border like some of you guys think. The reason I felt the need to address this topic is because over the last week or two, we've had an influx of Trump supporters who are following my work because of Jeffrey Epstein. And then when I did the short little just 10-minute video documenting what I covered here in Houston, the protest against the detention center, I mean, I haven't seen so much hate and bigotry and ignorant comments on my YouTube channel in quite a while. And I get my fair share. So if you're one of those people and you still haven't unsubscribed, I know some of you have already unsubscribed, and better, I guess good luck to you. If you're hearing this and you think immigrants are the problem, I hope you will look at the information, look at the studies, look at the stats, try to rebut me, point some, post your links. I'll check them out. I do read the comments. And yeah, maybe recognize that this is part of more propaganda designed to get you to look at the other. Who's the other? If it's not the blacks or the Jews or the Mexicans or the Chinese or the whatever, or the communists or the terrorists, it's the immigrants. And there will always be an other for the government, any government, to point to in order to blame the issues on. And that's what people do. That's what zealots do. They come in and they create an enemy so that you get excited, you get ramped up about that, and you can put all your anger and your frustration towards that problem instead of looking up at the people who are helping these things happen. So maybe direct your anger upwards towards the top, and then take that anger and try to channel it into something productive and do something in your community, get involved. And who knows, I don't know, maybe actually talk to an immigrant that's in your community, or maybe get to know those who live in these communities and see what they have to deal with and talk to them like a human being. Might change your perspective. All right, that's it, guys. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.